Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Tinker, Tailor, Solder, Fry, the Let's Try program here on the mighty Loading, Ready, Run Video Entertainment Network. My name is Ian Horner, and I'll be your navigator through today's proceedings as we tinker away. And as always, over in the Crystal Gondola, we've got Paul on the zeros and ones. How's it going tonight, Paul?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good to have you with us. As well, we should mention that while we do broadcast live over at twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun, if you'd like to help us out, you can do so there. But we can also accept your, humbly accept your monetary help over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. That's the place where we like to send you for recurring monthly payments that just happen. You don't even need to worry about it. Don't worry about it. Patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Don't worry about it. Tonight, we're going to be doing some old school tinkering that we haven't done here on the channel in quite a while, to which I mean that we don't know how it's going to turn out. I had a great idea the last time I was sitting here in the studio for one of our Kill Team painting nights about how best it could be to show off what you're painting, because most of us mini painters have some sort of a holder for our miniature. They may spin, they may not, but the point is it's something we can grip and something we can brace ourselves against so that we can make sure that we can get all the little detail in these figurines. But how to show off that progress to someone at home? Well, you say, why not use a camera? Well, that's a great idea, but if you're a long-time viewer of this program, using a fixed camera with something that moves around a lot can be difficult to make sure that you are in the correct position you're supposed to be in when you're painting.
Well, and also, like, especially with little miniatures, often you do need to sort of contort yourself into different positions in order to be in an optimal painting position.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so having something that would attach the camera to the model itself or in a fixed position against the model would make a lot of sense. And so, I mean, I've thought about, I've also thought about webcams. We've had some experimentation in the office here too with those, but they seem to be a bit large and a bit too tied to a computer via a cord that could potentially also get wrapped around you and just cause a lot of unpleasantness, especially when you've got open paint that you don't want to be spilling or knocking around everywhere. So what to do? Well, back in the day, back in Desert Bus 2020, I believe it was, I needed to put together a button for random dance parties, and in order to make sure that everyone knew that a finger was pushing the button, which is a requirement for that whole system to work, I used a Raspberry Pi and purchased a few of these small ESP32 Raspberry Pi cams. And thought, these are interesting. I like them. They're very small cameras. What can I do with them? Well, what if we made the Raspberry Pi smaller as well? And not a Raspberry Pi, but in fact an ESP32, the bigger brother of one of our favorite microcontrollers here on Tinker, Tailor, the ESP8266. And these specifically are the ESP32Cam modules, which have, yet again, their own tinier camera module. And what if there was such a way to take your miniature painting and maybe have an arm come from the bottom? Put this thing up inside the handle with a battery. Put an arm out with another ribbon cable to very lightly and very delicately position this at a distance of a fixed focal length so that you don't need to worry about focus. The model will always be in focus. And then maybe if we want to, even put some lights around it too to give it better light. But that bit's going to come a little bit later. First, we have to make certain that we're able to actually get a video output from these little camera modules and these microcontrollers. So that's what we're going to start by doing today. Is we're going to flash an ESP32 and see if we can't get it to stream some video in a way that we might be able to pick out later and pop into OBS. looking forward to it. Yeah, these chips are fairly powerful. The ESP32s. People are saying that they work as a general purpose CPU. Yeah, these run web servers, multitasking, all sorts of fun stuff that you can do with these.
Yeah, it turns out, that just sort of a nice little microcontroller, having Wi-Fi and/or Bluetooth, depending on what version you get, adds all sorts of interesting functionality to what is already, you can do all sorts of interesting things with a microcontroller, but microcontroller plus a Wi-Fi connection opens up just a whole can of interesting things.
I mean, that you then have the power of the entire internet to deal with. But what we'll need to do here is we're going to try using the... I didn't do much research for this particular episode, you'll find. So
it's going to be heavy on the tinkering aspect.
Exactly. In fact, so much so that I've just now installed the Arduino libraries on this computer. Actually, this is my first time trying out the Arduino from the MacBook Air. So we'll see if the USB will properly step down to USB-A to step down to micro USB, everyone's favorite plug. You can't plug that into the magnet. Okay.
Somebody, oh no, do novo, in chat, saying in my experience, you want to have some kind of heat sink for the camera.
ESPs do not like being cameras, and they try to catch fire. That's good to know. We're not going to be. Thankfully, we're not going to be shoving things into a handle today, but that will definitely we'll have to take into account when we start thinking about physical construction of these things.
Let me know if and when you are in a position that you want to show what's on your screen.
Sure thing. I mean, at this point, it's probably safe. I'm just letting the Arduino system spool itself up here and allowing it to pop through my various firewalls. That's it. What did I put in here? Why did I leave a note to myself? Oh boy. This is something you definitely want to see whenever you open up a package from yourself. Warning!
Please check the position of these two voltage regulators. The position on the picture is wrong. Oh, it's this. I remember you mentioned that this is right. That they sent out a whole bunch of the ESP things with the switches swapped.
Some resistors swapped, and I hope that
this is a more recent board that you got, though, isn't it?
These have been in my possession since 2020.
Oh, okay.
So they've just never been put into a application before. Where are you?
Didn't they? Wasn't I seem to recall you saying that it's like they made this mistake and they're like. They just were like, we'll send you the resistors to fix it. And it's like, that's not a very good fix.
Yeah.
It's like, you want me to desolder the resistors and resolder them in the other order on the
I mean, yeah,
board?
I might as well do that.
Seems like a lot. That seems, it's no longer a nice, simple turnkey thing.
Yeah, boy, I hope that's not what we're going to have to do today. Oh, no.
Does this work is it actually like non-operational in this state, or is it work you just have to swap which cables you're plugging in or something?
You know what? We're just going to find out here because the two chips, as far as I can see on the board that I've got, aren't even labeled. If they are, it's very teensy-tiny. Okay, we might have to do the special trick here, which is to get it in good light and then use the camera. Aha! Thank you, camera. Well, looks like we, if this chip is definitely backwards.
Uh-oh.
Thankfully, I have another one. So we may be doing some soldering today before anything else. Do I have a second one, or do I just have more of these cameras? You're a different microcontroller. These are all Pro Micros. Ah, here we go. That's a Raspberry Pi Zero. Okay, it was in the same batch, so I have a feeling. Don't lose the camera either. Well, hell's bells, everyone. Good thing I brought the soldering equipment with me as well. Not expecting to jump from tinker to solder so quickly, but glad I left this note for myself, because that would have been an interesting troubleshooting.
As long as we don't now jump to fry, we should be okay.
Well, high temperatures, anything's a possibility. Right. And we'll make sure to leave this note with the other one, just in case. Come on. All right. Shove that paper back in as a terrible reminder to myself.
So what's the issue? Is that so there's
these two chips that are on here that are in the wrong position apparently are voltage regulator chips.
Wow.
Which, to my mind, is the kind of chip that you don't necessarily want to be in the wrong position. You know what? I'm just actually going to use a vise for this. Because we definitely don't want this chip flying all over the place while we do this. Okay.
So like one is the 5 volt and one is the 3.3 or something?
That's my guess. I wish I'd saved more than just the one piece of paper about this.
Is there, yeah, I was just looking if there's any info for, this is from what's the name of the, or what's the company that you got? Is there more information about it from the company?
The ESP32 Rover Dev version 1.6. So let's see what's out there. ESP32-W Rover-Dev voltage. Oops, V1.6 voltage regulator. Just going to check my email archive too if I've got that information in there. Okay. Check in the archives, searching all mail, ESP32 voltage. Yes, no, let's try ESP32. Was it 2022? Might have been one of these universal solders. Aha! Yes, I did. Perfect.
There's a thread here. I just sent a message to you.
Oh, thank you.
A thread here specifically about the camera mod that looks like this particular problem this particular board with the swapped things causes problems with the camera module. So
Oh boy. Yeah.
because it's sending the wrong power into the camera module.
So that's what the issue is there. Okay. So unfortunately, there's no.
I mean the solution in the thread here is you'll have to
swap the regulators, which makes sense if it's a hardware issue, but woof. Yeah, some people 7 camera modules. Good gosh, that's
7 cameras on one ESP.
Oh no, they tried 7 different camera modules, thinking it was the camera problem.
Oh, I see.
Rather than the the voltage. Okay, let's see if I can hold this. Oh, hey, I may have come up with a really good solution for myself here.
It does seem. I mean, it is one of those sort of really nasty troubleshooting things where the sort of baseline assumptions that you're working on are messed up, right? It's like, okay, I must have put this together wrong. This thing must be wrong. This thing must be wrong. But you don't sort of assume that the board itself
is the problem.
Was put together improperly.
Yeah. You can, especially if you're trying to troubleshoot something like this, and it turns out to be a hardware issue, or if you don't get the.
Then it's like it was, and so you're trying to sort of debug your own code and going through all this stuff, and then it's like, oh, I was actually doomed before I even started.
Yep. Well, I just recently did some troubleshooting. Had to do some on-site troubleshooting after a 12-hour drive, and spent 4 hours over the course of 2 evenings trying to find out what the issue was. And the problem was that FaceTime on the Macintosh was the call was ending with a message, "Call failed," and no other information other than that. Even if you go into the logs, they're just not giving you any information. And so just trying to figure out what the problem was, and trying every setting on the client's computer to figure out why is it failing immediately? Why is it failing immediately? Turns out it was because my microphone was set to a microphone that wasn't plugged in. So the importance of providing people with actionable error messages would have gone a long way there. Call failed due to thing. Rather than just call failed.
And it's like, why fail that? I mean, connect, but just you can't hear it. I mean, and then you can then work from there.
Yeah, that would also be a graceful failure, but.
Ugh.
But all said and done, it was a great visit with my family. Glad to have seen them again. Yeah, the troubleshooting is always at its most fraught when you're doing it for family, especially if it's for your main form of communication.
Yeah, right, of course. It's
okay.
Like we have to get this part working so then, we can do future communications.
Yeah, so I can solve your further problems, which will inevitably be coming. Thankfully, we've got the old solder sucker, but I think we might even be able to get by with just the braid today. But I'm just gonna.
We're not going to need the heat gun, are we?
The heat gun didn't come with me. If we need the heat gun, we're shutting it all down, and maybe we'll play Crokinole. Solo Null. Okay, I'm just going to see what it's like here to touch some of these probes, just to see what the continuity gives me, if anything. The answer is it doesn't give me anything, so I can't test this using a continuity probe, but that's okay. It should be a fairly easy fix. Just need a couple more things here, like a pair of tiny tweezers, which I know that I have in here. Will want the alcohol.
Would that multimeter be able to tell you that the voltage regulators are around the wrong way?
No, it wouldn't be able to tell me that. It would be able to tell me what the voltages are coming out of them, essentially. But thankfully, the camera was able to see the numbers on them, which was enough for me to be confident that, yes, they are.
So then it's not only did they do the voltage regulators the wrong way, but they actually silkscreen the wrong numbers in as well.
No, they silkscreen the correct numbers on. That's how you can tell that they're swapped positions.
Oh, I see, because the number on the chip and the number on the board is different.
Yeah, exactly.
Disagree, I see.
The two chips are in the wrong position. Where did I stash my tweezers? I could have sworn we just organized this whole thing. Ah, there they are. Less than a year ago. Okay, we've got our lockers and we've got our walkers. I just made that up, but it makes sense. Locking because they lock, walkers because they got little legs that they can walk on.
I mean, lots of names of things make less sense than that, so I'm all for it.
And the important thing is it rhymes. So
Exactly.
that way we can add it to the list of aphorisms that young electrical engineering students need to learn. I did recently learn about the lefty loosey tighty righty rhyme for putting screws in. Turn to the right, it gets tighter. Left, it gets loose. In Poland, they have a similar. I believe it's Poland. A similar phrase, but it's wonderfully applicable to both political systems and to your screws.
Uh-oh.
Yes, the right oppresses, the left loosens,
All right.
or the left
all right.
relieves. Yeah, I can get behind that. Okay. Now we just need the last thing, which is flux. Always flux, never not flux. And that's soldering braid. There you are, at the bottom.
The issue I sometimes get into with the righty tighty lefty loosey thing is if you're not talking about screws when you have and when you're looking at the screw with the screwdriver, sometimes you can mess you up because where it's like you realize that your orientation in relation to the screw is actually different than what it happens. For some reason, it happens all the time with the mic boom that we have, because of course when you're rotating that, you're sort of usually looking at it sort of side on instead, so you have to be like, okay, but if I'm imagining that I'm looking at it end on like it was a screw, then it's righty tighty lefty loosey. But if I'm looking at because I'm looking at it side on, it's actually lefty tighty.
I also enjoy when you're trying to, when you're screwing a screw that's under a table that you don't want to get under, so you just gotta do it that way. And again, it's a question of which way is the correct direction from where I am.
Right, or the weird situations where, for reasons that make absolute sense but are not necessarily communicated, they're, reverse thread.
Yeah.
Screws.
For reasons.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of the time it is done for reasons that make sense, but if it's not sort of communicated that that's what's happening.
Oh. Okay. So I seem to, if nothing else, have just turned on advanced settings for my soldering iron.
Oh.
Keep awake. Pulse. Power. Intensity. Here we go. Heating up. Tip is it? Ooh. Not sure if you can read that at all from the camera, but that's much more informative than modes I'd had previously.
Activating MP3 player.
You joke, but this does have. Actually, I think it did have at least some form of an audio player. I know it can play Tetris.
Wow, and I mean, I guess like having some sort of audio system so it could like beep when it's at the right temperature and stuff.
That would be really nice, actually. Because as it stands, we're just sitting here waiting for it to come up to more than 200 degrees Celsius.
I always remember I ended up with a Gears of War Special Edition Xbox 360.
Because you are such the Gears head.
Yes, unintentionally, but it was actually we did a thing with Wizards of the Coast that was like a game. It was like Game with Fame. Where we were playing at the time Duels of the Planeswalkers with fans, and so they part of the compensation for it was they gave everybody the Xboxes to play it on.
That's a pretty nice piece of compensation.
But so they just got the whatever Xboxes were in stock at the Best Buy or whatever, and so there were like 7 because they get like 7 Xboxes, and so one of them was the Gears of War one. And it turns out there are 2 Xboxes, I believe, that were ever produced. The Gears of War Special Edition and the Star Wars Special Edition Xbox.
Really?
That have, in addition to the paint job on them, they have an extra piece of circuitry in them and a small additional speaker added into the system.
Wow.
Because the Xbox inherently doesn't actually have any audio output, and doesn't have a speaker actually in the box.
Right. Because it wouldn't need to, I guess, for whatever reason.
But those two special editions, when you hit the disc eject button, on mine it went like. And on the Star Wars one, it does like a lightsaber, like swoosh.
Sort of a whoosh.
And so they had like a whole piece there was like all circuitry and like little ROM chip to store that sound effect and an additional little speaker and all this extra stuff inside it. And that was the only thing it did.
Only thing.
It just made that one sound.
That is redonkulous. So it's not budging yet, but it is heating up, and it is accepting of the solder. Oh, we have movement. And we've managed to, let's hope, cleanly remove the piece. Oh no. Well, got good news and bad news. The good news is the chip is off. The bad news is I don't know if I took the pad off with it. Now, we might be able to bodge that, but oofa doofa. Let's clean our head a bit again here. Let's try again with this side, but a little bit softer this time.
Oh yeah, chat brings up a good point. This would be an excellent place to have a tiny little camera mounted directly to the...
You get it, chat. Okay. Thankfully, these things are mostly dirt cheap, but
Yeah.
rather not have to order a new one in just because I...
Well, it's I mean, it's frustrating that they were, came from the factory wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, 2020, we are outside any return replacement system.
I think so. Thank goodness for our good friend Flux.
Mm-hmm.
It kept that thing from bouncing off the table and directly onto the carpet, never to be seen again.
Man, these chips are so teeny weeny.
Yeah, they are way too small, and I'm worried that I've managed to... You know what, I'm just going to get in there with the phone so I can show you what's up here and what I'm worried about. Whoa. Don't move that around. Okay, let's see here. Let's just zoom in on that. And so here's our problem right now. The problem is
Those are the two pieces?
these are the two pieces, and
I see one of them is missing. It's
one of them looks like a leg has not come with it, and the other one's got the leg, but I have a feeling here if I... Okay, and then... So this looks very ugly, but these are the two positions. And this one looks like it's got the places for the voltage regulator to go back in. This one, I worry that we've actually lifted the pad right there. And that...
How annoying.
Yes, how extremely annoying. Well, there's only one thing to do, and that's to try cleaning it up.
Are there, like, if you weren't attaching the camera module to this, would those voltage regulators be needed?
I don't know.
Like, are they, like, could one of these things with the modules reversed still be useful as, to power, like, a, say,
Like it was just a web server or something?
A button or a web server, or just connect to the, something. And it's just when it has to power some other item that it needs those extra.
I can't say I know for sure because I'm not too familiar with the actual... Oh, what is that on the thing? Oh, is that the pad? No? I don't know what that is. Okay, all 3 pads are good on the one. On the other, yeah, looks like I hosed that. Let's see if there's anything that the solder can actually connect to. Yeah, I wish I could tell you, Paul. We can, before I ruin the second one, we can plug it in and see if it will actually work, if it'll take a hello world. I'm also gonna, because I think that site that you sent me has the, what would you call it, circuit diagram. I might be able to set up a bodge wire. So yeah, let's start out and just see if I can get one of these soldered back in place, and then see what happens when we turn it on. Oh, you are too tiny. I don't like that. So I am making sure to take the correct side from the correct side. Place it there on the place it's stuck to the thermometer or to the tweezers. Okay, let's kind of move it in from the side here. Yeah, this would be one of those times when having a, as you said, a dedicated camera or potentially a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think I got that one on. That's not bad. The irony is that the one that's missing the pin is the one that's going into the place with the missing pad, and both the pad and the pin are missing now. So I don't think this is going to boot up, but even just as a practice solder job, this is I would feel more confident in swapping the other one out. And if it's a thing that needs to be done and it doesn't work anyway, then it just has to be done. But let's do our tests first. This one's being a lot less cooperative. But I'm learning how to tack and then finish. Okay. And here goes my last best hope, is we'll just flood that end where there should be a pad with some solder and hope that it connects up something electronically. Oh yeah, it just wants to touch the the resistor that's there. Okay, let's clean our soldering iron, and once more just add a bit of flux and then see if we can get anything to connect. Let's load up our tip. Okay, that's all we can do. It's not all we can do, but what we can do aside from that is, what were the options? Shave down the base end of the regulator until we hit metal, and then do the same thing on the board. Basically, the thing I did with the Dreamcast's ROM chip when I had a broken pin on that. That was a lot easier to deal with because it was a lot bigger. But, all right, let's connect it up to a computer and see what the computer sees, shall we? And if that doesn't work, then, well, then we might have to just try again with our spare board. And if that doesn't work, I think the Raspberry Pi Zero might have a camera connection on it. We'll see. And if it does...
Does the same camera module work with the Raspberry Pi as well?
I don't know if it does, but I do know that I have an extra Raspberry Pi camera module with me.
I mean, it's almost the same size in terms of...
Effectively. Oh, hey. Camera. Yup. It does have a camera.
Now, is that a Pi Zero W?
It is not.
Ah.
So...
Which, sure, that kind of a big deal.
Yeah, well, we'd have to...
Do you then, like, attach the ESP to the Raspberry Pi to get the Wi-Fi or something?
I don't know if we could make that work.
No, yeah.
But what we could do is we could at least just hook up the HDMI off of the Raspberry Pi to a monitor, and we could at least see if the camera is getting through.
That's true.
But regardless, courage.
Do you know, like, do you know the sort of focal length and capabilities of the camera?
So that was something we were I was hoping to explore today. Apparently, they are set up to be a fixed focal length out of the factory. That's farther than you would normally want for a miniature painting. But if you get them set up in a vise, nice and tight and easily, you can use a knurled set of pliers to break a small amount of glue that's on a spinning portion that does affect focus a bit. So you can dial down the focus to that 10 centimeter range. Or so I have been told. Okay, we're plugged in on the unit. Let's plug into the computer and then see if it gets mad at me.
Or just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Should I switch over to the computer?
You can switch over to the computer. We're just going to go to About This Mac, more info, and see what our... Wow, they've really changed the system report. What you got on the USB bus, buddy? Big ol' nothing, eh? What happens if I use the other port? Nothing reporting. What does the Arduino see?
What do you see with your Arduino eyes?
Well, we need to actually get into the board manager there too, if I recall. And Arduino ESP32. Yeah, I think we want the Espressif versions. Yes, you can connect to GitHub. Yes, it's allowed. So I guess this is kind of like a normal Tinker Tailor anyway, where I try to repair something that I had. Just didn't expect that to happen this quickly.
Yeah, it always is. I mean, it's, often the case when you're doing projects where the thing that you thought was going to be like the time-consuming bit, often sometimes turns out to be the easy bit, and then you spend all your time working on some stupid other aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. To tell you the truth, I was even considering not bringing the soldering box today. It was thrown in case we needed the multimeter. Turns out we needed a lot more than just the multimeter. There are a lot of ESP32s, it looks like. I wonder if the revision matters much to me. W Rover. Well, let's double check here. ESP32W Rover. Dev 1.6. Board identification. Whoa. This man did not have a good time, but that's my board. I wonder if they've got their, let's see if they've got their things backwards or not. Impossible to say because they are marked differently from the ones that I have. So I guess they fixed those at some point in the future. Or, yeah. Yes, in the future. Okay, ESP32 Dev Kit. Right, so let's head on up and have a look at our boards. ESP32 W Rover Kit, all versions. Well, there we go. Thank you. And do we have a easy project here?
It does say not connected down at the bottom right.
That's a good point. That would make it a very easy way to deal with that. Serial monitor. Not connected. Select a board and a port. Aha. Need our port too, which I believe is going to be USB serial 110. That seems promising. Get board info. Unknown board. Okay. Let's plug into the other board that is known working, quote unquote.
Because I mean, the things that I was reading in say that like if you've got this problem, you might find you find that like the camera module doesn't connect up properly and shuts down and stuff, but which would seem to indicate that like the board is being read by the stuff. It causes some issues later along the line. So
yeah, I'm just going to.
So theoretically, the board that hasn't been
molested
should at least show up on the thing.
And it looks like it does. Plug in here. Okay, yeah. So it's sending something.
Yeah, it's not connected anymore.
What's the baud rate? Oh, no, that's Japanese.
Bow.
ESP32 Arduino baud. 1152 seems to be the default from what Google says. That's not a... There we go. That's the one we want. Okay. Reset. Hey!
Hey, look at that.
So that's the bad one.
Which I guess the problem is that it's like the board doesn't know it's bad.
The board doesn't know what it's done. Well, we can still have some... I'm still game to plug in one of those cameras, which... Ah, there it is. Whew. It's so small.
As a side note, I was just Googling around, seeing if I could find it. And of course, Google has their AI generated responses now. I just says, and for a brief moment, I was like, it says, if your ESP32W rover dev board is experiencing issues potentially related to swapped regulators, the following steps can help troubleshoot and potentially fix the problem. Oh, great. 1. Verify the power source. Ensure it is receiving adequate and clean power. If using USB, try a different cable, USB port or USB hub. Check for overvoltage. And then check or try reflashing it. When flashing for the first time, make sure you hit the... And so it's just like, it started out with the paragraph about, it's like, if you're experiencing issues potentially related to swapped regulators, and then it just smoothly transitioned into like level 1, like the like standard base level debugging stuff. Yeah. Even though it's like related to swapped regulators is right there, none of the actual suggestions involve swapping the regulators back the way they're supposed to be. It's so frustrating because it's like,
not make it easy for us.
But it's that thing that I think makes the AI stuff so much worse, is that it seems right, like it seems like it's got the answer.
Oh yeah.
And it like if it just didn't know, that's one thing, but it seems,
it's so confident in
it seems very confident in its answer that is completely useless.
Yeah. No, I was trying something. Occasionally I will give up these days when Google and my DuckDuckGo just doesn't get me far enough. And I thought, there's a new feature on the Apple TV which allows me to use an iPhone through continuity camera to be a dedicated FaceTime camera. So you can do the Star Trek thing where you've always got a camera ready. And it kept telling me, yes, you can definitely use an iPhone X with your as a continuity camera for your Apple TV. Just install iOS 17. And I'm thinking, hold on a second. Let's double check that. How do I install iOS 17 on an iPhone 10 or an iPhone X? Oh, you can't. So
it's
two pieces of information that are right next to each other that it can't make the connection for.
It's just trying to be helpful.
Yep.
At any cost.
Yep. So here's our block diagram. Last time I looked at one of these, it was to hack my my other laptop. And so, yeah, it looks like I would, ground.
There's those two sort of in the bottom middle there.
Yeah, I think those are the two. I think those are them, I would guess. One of them is a 1.2 volt, and one of them is a 2.8 volt.
Right.
So neither of us were correct on which voltages they're passing through, but... Okay.
Is there anything you can do, like, can you sort of do something where you sort of attach wires to like one to the other, or to sort of flip them from one side to the other or something, rather than having to desolder and resolder them?
Yeah, no, because you'd have the connection does have to break somewhere. If we're correct here in what I'm looking at, and we're looking at U1 and U3.
This is an interesting aspect that I'm finding out is the NDI screen thing, the emulation of your cursor, because I don't think it's actually sending your real cursor image.
Yep,
the cursor emulation that it's sending is incorrect
Very much so.
because of, I guess because of like the Retina display or something.
Yeah, I think we discovered that last time. So if I look up here, if I'm reading
Yeah.
things correctly, these two are the voltage regulators. It could even be this one as well, but the point is that yeah, you need to break that connection. Either I broke off U1's number 2, which is the voltage out for the 2.8 volt camera system. And yeah, you know what? That seems to me to be a potential issue, because the camera system, if we look up in the block here, whoop, can't get far enough up. Anyway, in this stack farther up, you'll see the input for the 3.3 volts, and then you'll also see the AVDD on pin 21, which is the 2.8 volt out. Boo. But like I said, it might have magically connected itself anyway. So what I think we want to do is see if we can get ourselves an easy bit of Arduino code here, and see if we can get some Wi-Fi. So we are in the test camera. Well, that sounds like a good thing to try. Because I don't see anything on here that talks about connecting directly to Wi-Fi in the code. That may need to be added. So that's the JPEG capture. And that's the JPEG stream option. This one might be a little bit easier. Yeah, this one will work via Wi-Fi, it looks like. Okay. So, use as is in Arduino for guaranteed results. Proceed to step 3. Get this thing. ESP32 zip. So let's just grab the pack. Okay. And then we're going to, in the archive, delete examples and test. I appreciate the usable information. Okay, ESP camera 32. Open that up. ESP camera 32. And you want me to just delete all files. Right, in the archive, examples and tests. Okay, well, goodbye. Switch to camera master target. Sketch. We need to clone this repo as well. That's why. CD temp. Git clone this one. Copy the right one. Git clone. There we go. Okay. And then we'll hop out into here, and there we are. ESP-CAM drivers in there. Arduino IDE. Oh, use as is for guaranteed results. Well, why don't we just use as is then? And just see if it works. Woohoo! Fun. And that is an ESP32. Whoop. It was down here, wasn't it? Dev. W Rover kit, all versions. Great. All right, let's push the button and see if it compiles. Ah. Home Wi-Fi multi.h. So we'll need a home Wi-Fi multi, which we have not put together. Home Wi-Fi multi.h. With underscores. I think that matters. It always matters. Is it on the list here? No, it is not. Ah, here we go. Scroll up and read the instructions, Ian. In the same folder. Okay, let's just do that then. Go into the folder, and where's my touch command? Touch. Nope. New file. Great. Call that. Open it up. Put things in it. All right, and then what we're going to do, Paul, is you're going to take me off the screen while I input the Moonbase's information.
No one will ever know.
No. Uh-oh. Keychain. Local items. There we go. Fun fact, if you ever want to know what a password is for a Wi-Fi you've been on the Macintosh and you don't know, you've forgotten, check your keychain access application. It keeps them there for you. Okay. Oops. And password is correct. Make sure all our passwords are hidden. And you can come back, Paul. We're going to hit that compile button again.
Right, making progress.
Yeah, this is how we compile. SPI RAM, no such file or directory.
Spirum. I mean, you're not. Wait, you're not. It's an ESP32 Pico D4, or is that ESP32 or Pico D4?
/ Pico D4. If I mean, it looks like it's for a lot of these guys here. Let's just see what that comes up with. Okay. High mem support. So we should have that. Maybe I have the wrong board. ESP32. This isn't an Adafruit. There are so many of these. Hornbill. Kits, and Willy Glow. Somehow I think we've... Nope, no, we're still in the ESP32 world.
Turns out it's a lot of freaking ESP32s.
Mm-hmm. And apparently it matters which one is which. Of course it matters. Okay, so it's not there. Not any further down. So let's, I don't know, let's just try the...
I do love the, yeah, you know, this idea behind, I mean, I guess it's more less the ESP32 and more the original ESP82, whatever, 8260 something.
8266?
8266. But the idea that they're like, we're, you know, let's build this Wi-Fi chip and it'll be great because then it can be, you know, put onto all sorts of different boards and give Wi-Fi access. And, you know, you can just, it's an easy chip to attach to all sorts of other things to give Wi-Fi access. And then people realize that it's actually, for a lot of cases, a lot of situations, the little amount of memory and processor power and stuff that the Wi-Fi chip had is enough just by itself to do things. You don't need to attach to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone started using it for that. And then they're like, oh, okay, cool, I guess we'll do that.
Hold up here. Did I get the wrong one? Nope, ESP32Cam Eno. Let's just see if this changes anything. Oops. Home.
Cauldron password's at least 16 characters long. Holy crap.
Wow.
That is a serious password for just your general college.
Do they send you an SMS as well every time?
It's, yeah, there's so much. Yeah, I feel like at a certain point, especially when you're like sort of imposing it, you know, users tend to sort of rebel against that kind of stuff. You know, you impose, if they have a password that they, or a style of password they like, and then you demand that they, you know, it's got to be 16 characters long and has to be, has to have, you know, letters and uppercase and all the stuff. They'll just, you know, do the whatever they were going to do in the anyway, and then add, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they'll get more and more frustrated by changing and adding different things. I've changed it, you know, I can tell you because it's been changed now, but for a while the loading ready run, I was the password for like logging into the like NVIDIA, whatever it's called.
Oh.
NVIDIA home thing that for whatever reason you like have to create an NVIDIA account in order to just freaking download the drivers for your graphics card.
Which is, yeah, no great.
It was like, you know, and I, it was late, and I was doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and I kept, and I kept trying to create an account, and it wouldn't do password, and it wouldn't accept the password that I was trying to get into it and stuff, and so I ended up with like, capital H 8 everything. Just.
All right.
How are we doing here?
It looks like there have been upgrades to.
I was like, this version of the camera driver doesn't work on your version of the board.
Yeah, and people are saying, don't use Arduino at all. You should be using Espressif. So.
Isn't Espressif just a flavor of Arduino?
I believe so. I've actually never worked with it myself. I'm gonna keep this around because that's ironic that it's an ESP home forum that managed to find this issue for us.
I don't know what this person is doing.
Oh, mentions right now what they've done is they've glued thin toothpicks to the chips for them to desolder them with.
Oh, just to give them some leverage to pull it off, I guess?
Yeah, and to hold them in place, I guess, too. It's kind of smart. I'm impressed. Okay, ESP32 camera. There was another one here that I'd looked at potentially using a different, or using Espressif. So, yeah, let's give it a try. What the heck? We've got a little time here. Okay. Go to 32 camera and just download the code. Okay. So we'll need to add the Espressif IDF expansion to my Virtual Studio Code. Extend me, friends. ESP-IDF. Install.
ESP.IDGF.
Do I trust them? Who knows? As much as I trust any other repository of software. Okay. And then we gotta go ESP-IDF new project. Open the setup wizard. Make sure that the prerequisites are installed for macOS.
In order to get this working, first get a wizard. Have the wizard cast an arcane charm.
Oh, good. I time to jump into Mac homebrew, I guess. Now it doesn't seem like a good time for me to switch over to Mac ports, though that is on my mind of things to do.
Me.
Oh, good. I only had a couple things. I only needed Ninja and DFU util.
Wait, you're installing a Ninja?
I have installed a Ninja. You didn't notice because it was a Ninja that I was installing.
What does the Ninja do?
Let's find out. Ninja is a small build system with a focus on speed.
Fair enough.
Why another build system? Shut up, that's why. Aims to be an assembler, I guess. Low-level approach. Okay, well that's good. And choose a setup mode. Fastest options. Express. GitHub, yes. Find it for me. I guess. Which Python? Yep, that's good. Still loading the setups list.
So I like, again, the AI summary. I said, what is Ninja back on Mac ports? It says, Ninja is yet another build system. It joins the sea of other build systems. Is that just taken directly from, maybe that's just taken directly from the, I see. They just took that from the description. They're not actually being clever. Of course the AI wouldn't be clever. It is.
Ah, 532. There we go. There we go. Install.
Oh. Apparently, Ninja is born from the work on the Chromium browser project, which has over 30,000 source files, and previous build system took up to 10 seconds to start building after changing one file.
Oh,
Ninja can do it in under a second.
that's okay. You know what? I'm feeling more good about Ninja. Okay. But how does it configure the... So we'll need to make a config.wifi. Oh, there's a lot going on here. Or updated to account for user. Yeah, it's just the same one. Initialize the camera. Oh, well, we'll allow that to go through as well. Python wants to get out to the world, so I guess I should let it.
No.
Yes, finally I am free. Your laptop was the only thing keeping Python in check.
Oh, little snitch. You failed me for the last time. would like an easier Wi-Fi connect .h, thank you.
I do like when you get the whatever the shade on with libraries where it'll be like, you know, Wi-Fi Connect library, and then there'll be like the good Wi-Fi Connect library, fixed Wi-Fi Connect library.
I just need a template, thank you very much. Ah, sample codes. Great.
Can we show back your
Oh
screen?
yes, yeah, that's fair. I will let you know before we have to get out of there.
When you're doing command line stuff, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't show this, but
Oh yeah, no. That was fairly okay.
I do love the. I mean, this isn't something that the ESP system invented, but the captive portal Wi-Fi setup, sort of 1-2 switcheroo.
Yeah, super handy.
Is a brilliant idea that whoever came up with that. It's like, how do you configure the Wi-Fi on something that has no input, so that it can connect to the Wi-Fi in the first place? It's like you need it to connect to the Wi-Fi so you can connect to it, so you can configure it to connect to the Wi-Fi. How do you fix this problem? Aha! We figured it out. The captive portal thing. So now you can log into it. You can act as a little server, log into it, and then it can sort of bootstrap itself up into being a proper connection onto the network.
Kind of, yeah.
It sort of does a jump, and then it's like, you know, the idea that if you're like sort of changing the Wi-Fi connection while over the Wi-Fi connection is very interesting. It's sort of kind of jump and then swap the thing before you land.
Makes it super useful. Huh. Am I making things up here? Is that what it wants? No, connect_Wi-Fi. Perhaps that's one that's already provided for me as well. We're in temp. Let's stay in temp. Did download the ESP camera, so let's just take that and put that.
Is there not, I guess, like sort of a package manager system that will sort of, I want this, and then all the dependencies?
I would have thought so, but I don't know if it's camera example name. Right, we've already done that. We already took out test and examples, okay. Let's see here. So we need to create a new project. Okay, new project. Yep, we use that framework. Cannot read properties. Not having a good day, are we? Just needs a restart there. New project. Loading serial ports. Hey, there we go. Maybe we should quit the Arduino too, just in case. Express, yep. Give me that release version. Give me a previous version. Let's see if that works any better. In the meantime, let's go back and just have a look again here at the Arduino version. Okay, clone it as a thingamabooble. Into the ESP32Cam subfolder. Delete examples and tests, great. Ooh, my efficiency cores have been are being used. Delete all files in the sketch folder from step 1 except for eno and camera pins.h. Really? Okay. Camera pins. And I assume you're also going to want me to keep home Wi-Fi. Okay. The archive ESP camera master target. And delete subfolders S2 and S3. Unzip. Observe the JO flag, which seems lewd. But that should get everything in a flat structure. Let's just... Oh, I see what it wants to do here. So what we need to do is... Camera master. Where was I getting the camera master from? Well, I guess we just copy everything over, right? Yeah, dang it. Oop. I mean, that's probably fine. Sure, just copy it all. Whoop. Got all those. So conversion's good. Driver. Apparently just wants a flat structure, so why not give it to him? Go. 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 Okay, let's see what that does. Yep, W rover kit, go ahead. Compile for me. Cool. Let's just stick it in there. It's a different error than we had before, so that's, I would consider that progress. I like to think this is one step above vibe coding.
What is vibe coding? I keep hearing that term. It's like something to do with AI?
Yeah. My understanding about it is that vibe coding is when you just ask the AI to, you think about what you want a certain portion of the program to do, be it a function, be it a full library, and just let the, ask your AI system to write it out for you, plug it in and compile, and if it works, it does, and if it doesn't, you ask it again and tell it again. It's, yeah.
I don't know. I've tried like a few times to get to be like, okay, you know, AI, I don't know how to do this particular thing. I could spend a bunch of time, you know, looking it up, but maybe ChatGPT or AI or whatever can help me do it. And I don't know, maybe I just don't know how to do it properly, because it's always just like saying, you know, the vibe thing, like it's like what I have to do, like to explain to the AI what I want, basically requires me to write the whole thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I want you to do this, and then it has to do this, and it has to do this, and it has to do this. But in this circumstance, I need to do this, and then I need to do this, and then I need to do this. And it's like, I'm just pseudocoding the entire thing. I might as well just write it at this point.
Right.
Or I sort of give it a more general thing, or it's like, this is what I want to happen, and it does sort of half of it, and then I try to fix it, and then it just sort of does this like back and forth of, oh, here, here you go, here's the code, and then you go, well, that doesn't work, it doesn't do this thing, and it goes, oh, I'm sorry, here, and you go, no, that's doing the other part now, but now you've lost the first part that I was trying to do.
That also doesn't work.
And it doesn't work. But it's an interesting, like, and I guess, like, in terms of just sort of using it as, like, instead of, you know, Stack Overflow or something, like just basically finding something, like, I'll usually, like, if I want to do, you know, I need an algorithm to do this, I won't actually, like, give it all my data and say, I need an algorithm to do this. I'll, like, try to, it's like, okay, so here's whatever 5 names, and I need you to order them in this way, and then I take the code that it does, and then I'm like, okay, that's given me the sort of nugget of the code, and then I can integrate that into my larger project. But I don't know. I don't even know how one would sort of go about putting together a like a even reasonably large sort of multi-piece thing, relying solely on AI coding. But I mean, I know, people have made things similar to that, but maybe it's just sort of the way I think about coding doesn't integrate into what how the AI needs to have it told.
Yeah. Running into another library. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. That's at least one I can grab. Boop. Put in folder.
Most code is dull and not creative work. I see nothing wrong with using. I mean, yeah, like I'm not saying it's, oh, I want to be all creative and stuff. I just it's like, yeah, most code is dull and uncreative stuff, but I still have to. I have to know which dull and uncreative stuff to use in the circumstance, right? Like it's like, yeah, there's a lot of rote stuff in code that you have to do, but in order to figure out which of the rote pieces you need, you still need to figure out what the heck you're doing. I don't know.
It's important to know the process and how things go together. You can't just, and that's where the actual knowledge is.
But somebody chat saying his brother vibe coded a whole communication and computer interface application using Python code spat out by ChatGPT, and helped a lot with leukodystrophy and changes that. So I mean, you can do it. I've seen people talk about that it has improved their coding speed and stuff. And maybe it doesn't do the most efficient code or whatever, but the code you're writing from scratch probably isn't the most efficient either.
I understand a lot of people use it for rubber ducking too in a interesting way.
Yeah. But it's for me personally, just my I guess maybe it's something to do with just like my sort of process for coding and designing stuff. I find it hard to imagine how I can integrate it in a useful way. Mm-hmm. But, that's not saying that it's not possible. Hey, wait, it's done. Yep. It's compiled.
Something compiled.
No errors.
And, okay. Upload.
Scary thing is financial institutions going all in on vibe coding. Oof, I can't. That is amazing. That is scary. Nope. And also, I remember that was like drilled into us over and over and over. Like that was why when I was first learning to code, when they explain what a function is, and they're like, why function? It's like, why do I need functions? I can just write everything in, one big, whatever, if statement or something. And like, the example was always, say you're writing a program for a bank, and you have you have a chunk of code that has to do some calculations for it. That chunk of code has to be super tightly controlled. It has to be absolutely correct. It has to be evaluated in all sorts of ways. And you don't want to just be copying and pasting that code around into different places because you might mess it up. So, you take it out into a function, and then that function is locked, and that will always, and that function can be evaluated by itself and made sure that that's going to give you the right answers. And then you can call into that function and stuff. And so that was sort of like, as a, very, very introductory thing of like why functions exist.
Right.
But like, you know, banking applications being mission critical was always like the example they give. So the idea that you would put into production something that AI generated code without actually having anybody else look at it.
Without a full review, and this is always my biggest problem with AI, is that because it's a system that gives a different response each time based on the same inputs.
Right, it's
You
not
can't- you can't
non-deterministic.
Yeah, you can't run unit tests against it. You can't even check it for verifiability.
Right, I mean, you can run unit tests against the code that it produces, but not it itself.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you've got the issue of people saying that its non-deterministic nature is a feature, not a bug, which to me is.
I mean, I guess if that's what you're looking for, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for a source of like RNG, then I guess that helps. But
So we got an error. Unable to verify flash chip connection. Invalid head of the packet. Possible serial noise or corruption. So that's interesting. I'm going to just swap over to the other one that has not been soldered in any way and just see what happens when we try to upload to that.
so the serial noise might be.
It might be. It might be something else entirely, too. It might be me trying to push it through this USB-C to USB-A adapter. Oops. You don't want to compile. Okay, 16% of dynamic memory. Upload.
If you want to hear more talking about AI stuff, this week's episode of Checkpoint just went up before we, which includes a story that Cameron wrote and Kathleen delivered about well, ostensibly it's about the Dragon Age in their in BioWare's issues with their development process, which isn't actually AI related, but it becomes the story also is related to this report that was released by Bloomberg, and Bloomberg has implemented a new system, or at least it was new to us. Like, I feel like I've read a few Bloomberg articles, and this is the first time I've seen it, where they do AI summaries of their own articles on their on the, like, just at the top of the article,
Okay.
which seems so weird and backward to me. So it's like, you know, you're a journalist doing serious work, you write an article, and then Bloomberg automatically, you know, AI generates a summary. So it's like, you know,
Like, I guess it skips a step for some people. And if you only have to, you know, run the water wasting machine once to get a summary rather than every time a person hits the page, that's good.
but it's like, yeah, so it's, you know, presumably you could ask the author of the, like, if the thing is like, we want to have like a couple of little like bullet points at the top of the article that give people a general idea of what it's about to quickly digest. I feel like a lot of writers would be happy to write those, right, as part of the process of writing the article. It's like add some little key point things.
Well, especially because there was one of my favorite papers I've read on AI is one that talks specifically to the idea of summarization,
Right.
of the summarization powers of AI. And their findings were that it doesn't really do a summary so much as it does just a shortening of the paper,
Right.
condensing, to the point where even if the paper has an explicit summary section, it will not take information from there, and it will miss key points all the way across the article.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, when I was sort of looking up stuff about this, there's a New York Times article about the problems that Bloomberg has had with its AI summary system. For instance, they've had to issue several retractions because like there was articles about like the tariffs and stuff, which is a complex topic that it's a complex topic that has all sorts of different details to it.
Right.
And the summary, it's like the summary was like, these tariffs are starting, which, started last year. It's like, no, they didn't start last year. And so you have the situation where, Bloomberg, ostensibly a respected journalistic entity,
yes.
is having to issue retractions about retractions for something written by an AI.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. Hey,
Anyway.
while we've been talking,
Yes.
I was able to successfully flash the other thing, but
okay.
it didn't see the camera pointed. So I'm going to try flashing this other, the one that we did mess with on the backside, swapping. And hopefully it'll work out. It's nifty because the serial monitor will tell you already what the IP address is. So I don't even need to go searching for that, which is very nice. But yeah, just needed to change the baud rate for the upload.
Oh, okay.
And that was what caused the issue.
So it had to go a little slower because there's more noise on the channel?
Exactly. Well, I think it just the default was just way too high to begin with. But it's doing its thing. 38%, 40. I think we'll just we'll be able to tell whether or not it's a voltage regulator issue, and if it is, well, then we can come back and do this again with some slightly more tuned equipment and be a little bit better about not breaking off pads or otherwise. Maybe I'll do that glue the toothpick to the thing trick.
I mean, obviously, like it's it'd be a shame, like the fact that you already have a bunch of these little cameras and stuff. So it seems like I'm sure there's kits that you could get that would be like the chip and the camera and all the stuff together. But you already have all the cameras.
Well, I mean, the ESP32s came with their own little cameras, so be nice to reuse them. But I can always just order just the module itself. And in fact, actually, I believe, if nothing else, if the voltage only affects the camera, it's still, as you say, useful as a button.
Right.
It could be useful as something like that. Anyway, serial monitor says camera probe failed with error ESP error not. Just not found. Okay, that's kind of cool. I'm going to go to this URL anyway just to see what pops up, if anything. And then I'm going to connect the camera to the other ESP that we previously had, but that was half working, but wasn't outputting, and it wasn't giving me an error. But at least, we've got a website here that's...
For those of you, if you're wondering... For those of you at home, that the IP address there is not a useful IP address for you at home.
No.
That is an internal IP address to the network here.
Yes.
You will not be able to access this camera just randomly.
You will have, you'll have to crack the Wi-Fi first. Don't crack the Wi-Fi. Okay, I think that's just going to error out then for us there. So let's unplug and then swap the camera over.
Yes. 127.0.0.1.
Hey, get out of my house.
There's a great, it's probably apocryphal, but there's a great chat log thing I remember reading a long time ago. It's back in the days of like WinNuke. Remember that? That was like in early in like Windows 95 and 98 and stuff, you could send certain packets
Oh yeah.
over I think it was just SMB or there was some protocol you could send packets to Windows and it would just basically crash it immediately. And so somebody came up with there was a program called like WinNuke that you could like do it. And it was always like at school we would like, you could mess around with stuff like in the computer lab and things if you were, a bad kid, not like me. But there's things that people like this guy be like, a chat log or something of somebody being like, I have this, I'm a cool elite hacker guy, I can crash your computer. I just need your IP address. And then somebody's like, oh yeah, really? Okay, my IP address is 127.0.0.1. He's like, all right, you're dead now. And then user's disconnected. And then, a few minutes later, okay, I don't know what happened there. My computer crashed, but I'm going to get you.
All right. Well, it looks like regardless of which of these two machines we plug into, it's giving me an camera probe failed with error not found. So that tells me that, one way or another, we're going to need to reverse the polarity on these voltage adapters on these little ESP32s, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't break the whole thing. Like I said, they were just these are the CAM modules, and that's the...
Yeah, it's interesting that they are still, readable and programmable by the system.
Mm-hmm. I guess, just it is an subsystem that causes an issue. But fortunately, I'll be able to make use of one of these without camera. Or I can, like I said, try and figure out which pin it is that I need to connect to which pin on the ESP2 itself and maybe put in a bigger one. But for now, we're going to have to put these away and come back to it another day and maybe try doing that solder swap when we're a bit more prepared for it. But it looks like once we do that, the camera connection, I might just order another one of these and make it easy on myself and not potentially burn another 2 hours trying to solder something up.
The principle of the idea behind getting a little Wi-Fi camera is still a very interesting topic.
Mm-hmm. I like to think so too, and I think even just looking at the sizes of this guy, it won't be quite as svelte as this one is, but I kind of like a little bit more meat in my grip, and that will definitely fit inside
in the handle.
Yep, inside that set of handle. And, make a little bit of room for a lithium-ion battery and the charging chip that it needs. And that could be a very good little piece of kit, I think, for myself, or for any other streamers out there who might want to...
it's the kind of thing where there's enough sort of semi-professional or professional sort of YouTube content producers and streamers who do painting stuff that, to be honest, I was like, when we were sort of talking about this topic and I was sort of looking at it myself, and I expected there to be sort of existing things for
Right?
this specific, it seemed like mounting it on a handle seems like something that might be pretty common or pretty sort of a well-tread area.
Yeah, and I'm honestly also surprised the same way that it's just not, it does not appear to be a thing that exists already. And boy, it's rare when you can come up with a literal actual invention these days. So
Yeah.
wouldn't mind exploring that as we move forward. But speaking of moving forward, we are ever forward moving. Learning out of spite. I'm getting that all wrong in the back ways. The point is, we're going to have to end the show today a little bit early because we've got some stuff we need to take care of administratively here. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry. Whether you're actively in the chat, whether we're second screen content, or if you're just lurking and listening to us, we appreciate all of you in your support of the show, be it monetary or otherwise. And a reminder, if If you do want it to be monetary, you can do it over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, which is our preferred home of the cash register of Loading Ready Run. So from Paul and myself, thank you once again, everyone, for watching. We will see you in a fortnight, never in Fortnite, ever forward, learning out of spite. Good night.